Hi, everyone, and welcome this evening. My name is Anne, and I am the host of The Art of Aging Well here live at the after party. And I am thrilled to have with me tonight fitness and nutrition expert for women who are over 40, Kim Schlag, as well as the co-founder of Women S, Michelle Jacobs. Welcome, ladies.
Hi,
Hi,
thank you, Anne.
thanks
So
for
to kick
having
this,
me.
thank you for joining us. This is such a huge topic, and we are so excited to talk to you. Can you give us a little bit of your background just to start?
Yeah, sure. So I did not grow up as a person who a lot of people think, oh, someone's in the fitness industry. They were an athlete. They've loved this their whole life. And I got to tell you, ladies, that was not me. Not in high school, not in college. Nobody who knew me in my past would be like, she's going to be in fitness. No, they would have not thought that. I did grow up, a product of the 70s and 80s. So I was steeped in diet culture, always thought I needed to lose 5 pounds, but I really didn't until I hit 30 and I started having babies. I gained 50 pounds with each of my 3 children, never fully losing all of that weight before getting pregnant again. And so by the time I was in my mid to late 30s, I was struggling with obesity and was no clearer on understanding nutrition, fitness than I'd ever been. And now I was in really dire straits. I was very unhealthy. I was very depressed about my weight. I spent a lot of time yo-yo dieting and, taking this popular book off the shelf and trying it with varying degrees of success, but I would always gain the weight back. Until my early 40s, I was introduced to two things. One, strength training. That was a game changer. And two, evidence-based nutrition, like the facts of how does our body actually respond to food, like what's happening, and putting those pieces together. I totally transformed my body. I happened to do it in a very public setting in my local gym. And a lot of people watched me in a pretty short order really change. And a lot of women would be like, what did you just do? Like, how did you do that? And I started helping people literally just for free, just like, here's what I'm eating. And oh, here's how you do that exercise. And then eventually enough people said to me, like, you should do this as a living, that I went and got certified as a personal trainer, got certified in coaching nutrition. And then just by a chance of luck, ended up on the internet helping people. Never intended to do that. I was not even looking for a career. I was a stay-at-home mom. And just over time on the internet was sharing about my perimenopause journey at the same time. And then those are the women who started coming to me because they're like, wait, she's like me. She's like literally having the hot flashes and the vertigo and she lost weight. And like, and that's how I ended up coaching women over 40. I did not set out to be like the over 40 fitness coach, but that's where I'm at.
So you're talking to all these women, and Michelle, you come across Kim, and you actually are a client of Kim's and have been for years. Tell us how
Yeah.
that came to be.
Yes, I'm a huge fan, huge fan, and cannot say enough about what I've learned from Kim and what she's done for me in my life. And that's why we were like so thrilled to have her as our guest today. And we talk about Kim and her program a lot on with throughout Womaness. But I was in my 40s. I luckily have like always been like I've always exercised. I played a sports in high school. I played club sports in college. I was always a runner and I was running like I spent my 20s and 30s like running. That's all I did. And my body was falling apart. Like my knees were hurting me. I couldn't run really anymore. I had also had 2 kids and I was like really not happy with like what my body was looking like. And I started following Kim on Instagram, and a girlfriend of mine, also my friend from town, we'd like compare notes, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And then like one day I broke down and I think I like DM'd Kim and was like, how do I actually do this in my own life? Like, I need advice. I need somebody to help me. And I got on Kim's program, and she taught me a ton about nutrition, which I'm sure we'll get to. But really, for me, what was transformative for me was really how to, because I couldn't run anymore, what else I can do in the gym and how to lift weights and how to transform my body and like gain all this muscle. And what is how to not be intimidated in the gym and all the things that I'm sure we'll get to. But I did it for almost over, I think it was 15 months. I went back and looked, and it was a long time where I stayed on the plan. And then I did it through COVID even. And basically I continue to follow that same plan today. And I am really, really a diehard fan.
This question's for you, Kim. What are the top reasons that women over 40 think that they can't lose weight?
Oh gosh, there's a good handful of reasons. One is we've just heard for so long, like, hey, it's all downhill from here, right? Like your best years are behind you. And we really start to internalize that. And it's simply not true. I mean, I work with women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s who are getting fit for their first time. Like they've never been fit before, and they're in their 50s and their 60s. And so that's nonsense. But we've really started to internalize that message. And I think it's shifting. I think people are starting to see more examples of women who are in really great shape in their older years. And so I think that's starting to shift, but I don't know that we're there yet. I think women of our generation still kind of have it in their brain, like it's all downhill from here. So that internal voice is one of the reasons. I think also when we think about what we've heard about our metabolism over a lifespan, it has become like it's not even true, but it was just accepted for so long that our metabolism absolutely declines, and it actually doesn't. Like scientifically, it has been shown our metabolism remains steady. So women are under the impression that their metabolism is slowing, and then we throw menopause in there, and they're like, well, that must be the reason, right? And in reality, none of these things are preventing us from losing weight. But the kicker is weight loss is actually quite challenging. It's simple to understand the concepts when somebody who knows about it tells you, here's how it works. But the actual daily to-do of what you need to do to lose weight is actually quite difficult. And so when we start to conflate like the actual difficulty with these mistruths we have in mind, it all feels really mysterious. And then women are like, well, I can't do this.
Right.
And I would
Right.
just
So how
add
do
to
you get
that,
motivated?
I think it also takes a long time to lose weight. And I think that's one of the things I know I learned from you, Kim, and you say it all the time. It takes a long time. So you kind of like you learn something, you're like, I'm going to do this for 2 weeks. And like, it's demotivating when you don't see progress. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, another huge piece of this is if you want to lose 15 pounds, it could be 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And it's hard to stick with like anything for that amount of time.
Yeah. And, this is another thing that I think we have just seen false things. Like people will show all the time, like some transformation that's not even real. Like they literally photoshopped it and it's in some short time frame. Or two, they did some kind of extreme thing that then they bounced back from, and those results didn't stick anyway. And so we've gotten it in our brain that a good rate of weight loss is a couple of pounds a week. And that's really, unless a person has obesity, losing a couple of pounds a week is just not going to happen. Like that's not the norm. And so understanding what a good rate of progress looks like, and that it's like if you lose a half a pound a week every week, that's actually phenomenal progress. And as you see that start to add up and compound, it's going to make a big difference. But you're not necessarily going to see it when you think you are. And so looking for the right forms of progress is really important.
So how do you get motivated then? How do you get motivated? What are the small steps that you can do to get motivated to start losing that weight and stick with it?
Here's the interesting thing about motivation. It's really misunderstood. Number one, we don't have to have as much motivation as you think. Number two, oftentimes people feel like motivation is something outside of themselves. Like you can go and get it. Like I could go over to my shelf there and pick up the motivation. Somebody can give me the motivation. And really, it's something internal that we can actually create. So you can create motivation. One of the things you can really think about, and if you're like, wait a minute, what do you mean I can create it? Sometimes I feel it and sometimes I don't. Exactly. The person who's going to control that, though, is you. And the thing you can focus on to help create that motivation is your thoughts. Our thoughts create our feelings. And so when we're thinking like, I don't feel motivated to go to the gym, or I don't feel motivated to eat the salad, we can start talking back to our brain, start noticing the thoughts we're having, and look for an in there where we can put a different thought. Yes, thoughts just pop into our brain. And so we will have some thoughts. And maybe the thought is like, I don't want to get up from my desk, stop this important project, and go for the walk. We can then notice, like, okay, my brain is telling me I don't want to get up. My brain is telling me I want to stay working on this project. I know I really do want to lose weight. I know this is going to help me. What's something else I could think? And there's not a right answer. There's lots of things you could think. You could think like, you know what? I'm not even going to focus on going outside for the walk yet. I'm going to see like, can I just put on my shoes? I'm just going to focus on putting on my shoes. Once you've put on your shoes, you can be like, all right, now I'm just going to put on my jacket. Or you could go take a totally different tack. You could say like, okay, my brain is telling me I don't want to get up right now. I want to just sit here at my desk. I know I want to lose weight though. What if I just walk around this room? I don't even have to go outside. I'm just going to stand up and pace them out of my room. Maybe then just moving, you'll be like, all right, now I'm going to go outside. So really thinking about when you have a thought, is that thought serving you? If not, what else can you think and go with that? There's lots of little things you can do to get started. And so often it's that little bit that like, then you once you're in motion, you start going. And so you can think. The other thing about motivation is we tend to rely on it just that. And really, that's important. Motivation is important and we can work on creating more of it. But we also need to look at things like our environment. How can we set our environment up for success? Let's make it easier for ourselves instead of thinking like, I'm too tired to cook tonight, so I'm going to order pizza. What if we made sure that in our fridge each week, we always had a couple of bags of salad and a rotisserie chicken? So if we get to the point where it's 6:30 and we still haven't cooked dinner, it's going to be just as easy to pull out that rotisserie chicken and the bag salad as it is to call the pizza place and wait for them to deliver it. So what can we do environmentally? And then the other piece is really what can we do with our community, our support system? Where can we get people who are on the same path and the same journey as us, who are going to help us versus like pull us down? So really thinking about all of those pieces can really help.
Yeah.
For me, I know if I dress in the morning to exercise, so instead of putting on regular clothes when I get up before I take the kids to school, I put on leggings and I put on a workout top. So this way, when I come back, it's still early enough in the morning and I'm ready to do something.
Yeah.
If I don't do that, but I say, oh, I'll come back and I'll change, 100% of the time, I do not change.
Yeah, and
You
that's
bet money on it.
super
I will
smart.
not change.
And that's
Yeah.
that environmental design piece I'm talking about. Like, how can we make this easy? How can we make there less friction? So getting and I know it sounds like cliche, but get your workout clothes out the night before, put them on first thing in the morning, doing these little things like get some vegetables at the start of each week, either pay to have them, buy them pre-chopped or chop them on a Saturday. So you have them throughout the week, do things to set it up so that there is less motivation required of you because it's just easier.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reward is there because I know on a Saturday, I will have all this intent to work out, go for a walk, go for a run, do something. And instead, if the siren of my sofa calls me and I make that conscious decision and I get on the sofa and I put the blanket on and I end up taking a half-hour nap, I feel so much worse
Yeah.
because I did. And then that's sort of like, then I end up ordering takeout that night. And then maybe like it's that building blocks that sort of crumble because
Yeah.
I didn't follow the good behavior earlier in the day. And I sort
Yeah.
of start to feel sorry for myself. And that's when the wheels just fall off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every behavior that we do that's like a vote for the us we want to be can really then help create the next one. So it's true. Like if you get your workout in, you do feel more motivated to want to eat the salad. If you eat the salad, you do maybe want to feel more motivated to pack your lunch for the next day, right? So each thing we do is a vote for the us we want to be. And we can think in our brain, like, what does future me, who's already fit, who's already lost the 25 pounds, who already goes to the gym, how does she think in this situation? What does she do? And really trying to like tune into who that person is and make those choices can also really help.
And it's really good to know what your like triggers are. Like I don't have a problem getting up in the morning and going to the gym. I never did. I get up, I put on my sweats, I drop my kids at school, I go to the gym. Like I am in such a routine. You tell me not to have a drink at night after a long work day, and it is like impossible for me. Like I've gotten much better actually, but it was a huge thing. But what I actually had to like stop and like think very seriously about the fact that every night I was breaking my own promise. I was saying, like, this is really a problem. What can I do to stop? Because I really wanted to stop doing it. It's not a problem for everybody, but I wanted to stop having that drink at night because it led me to eating more cookies or whatever it was. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go upstairs after I'm finished with dinner. I brush my teeth, I read, I do something else. I had to take myself out of the environment. But it took me a long time to admit to myself that was my biggest problem. And I had to change my own behavior. It wasn't going to just like stop happening if I got up from here and went into the kitchen and did the same things I was doing before. So I think also like really, really being honest with yourself about where that trigger is for you and coming up with your own solutions. I can't go to the couch because if I do, I will not do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, that awareness piece is so huge, and it's going to be different for like some people are going to be completely opposite for you than you, Michelle. And they might be like,
Yeah.
it never occurred to me. Like if I'm drinking at night, like I don't do that, but I hate getting up in the morning to work out. So everyone's going to have their
Right.
own
Everyone has a different thing.
individual struggles here, but approaching them in the same way, saying like, this is the thing that is tripping me up. What can I change here so that I don't make the choice that is, sending me down the path I don't want to go? And for you, I love that you're like, okay, I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to brush my teeth. I'm not going to hang out on the couch.
Yeah.
Breaking that routine, those things were tied together for you. Like I stay downstairs, I sit on the couch and I have my glass of wine or whatever it is. That was paired. And so when you break one of those things up, you're like, well, now I'm not on the couch.
Yeah.
That habit, that draw to like have the drink then isn't as strong as if you're sitting up on your bed or wherever it is. Or now that you have the minty taste of your toothpaste. Okay, so looking for those like habits that are paired together that aren't serving you is super, super important to helping to break them.
And Michelle, you've been really successful with weight training. How did you start weight training?
Well, like I said, I knew nothing about that. I knew nothing. I did the same thing everybody else did. Like I said, I ran on the treadmill or whatever, and then I went and picked up the 5-pound weights and I did my like arm things and and I was like, oh my gosh, my arms hurt. I must have exercised really well. And what I would watch on Instagram when I would see Kim is like she was literally like at the rack, like that bar with the big circle bells, like dumbbell things on it, whatever you call the plates, doing squats with like 50 pounds or 100 pounds, whatever it was. And I started learning also about how important it was for women in middle age, like 40s, 50s, to keep muscle mass on.
Right.
And so it was sort of started as those two things. And like by watching Kim and then eventually coming onto Kim's program, she gives so much information, not only about like what exercises you should be doing, but videos on exactly how to do them from every angle. So you don't how to actually put the plates on the barbell so you don't feel dumb. I mean, there's so much information that like made me feel comfortable to actually do it. And I'm going to add also the actual weight training program that Kim got me on was it took me about 45 minutes. Like it was not, you're not at the gym all morning. It was 45 minutes. I was in, I was out. I felt great. I'm giving a lot of information, but the end thing that I want to say is what is the best thing about the weight training is that my body started to change. Even though like I wasn't losing weight, I had definition in my arms, not like huge, but I was like, oh wow, like I look different in the mirror. So the number on the scale, like while I still am not in the size jean that I wanted or whatever, I felt like better about my body. I was like, I'm strong. I have muscle underneath all of this. And it made me feel like there were parts of my body where I really was like, wow, like I have a butt and my butt is tight. Like I'm hard as a rock, And it just started to make me think about my body in a different way. So I wasn't just obsessing on like, oh, I'm weighing a number on the scale that I don't like. Now I'm like, well, that number is mixed with a lot of muscle. So I know I'm giving a lot, but I started slow. I started really slow. Kim really kind of like eases you into understanding what exercises to do and how to kind of incorporate different exercises. But at the end of the day, it was really about how it made me feel that kept me going back.
We get a lot of questions at Women-S and certainly at the after party about that. So you're talking about your body changing, your arms, your butt, which I'm thrilled for you. How the hell do we get rid of this? How do we get rid of the tire around our waist? That is one of the biggest questions we get over and over again.
Yeah.
How do you get rid of that tire?
That doesn't surprise me that that's one of the main questions you get, because it's one of the main questions that I get as well.
Sure.
So I think it helps for women to understand where it came from at this stage of life in the first place. As we head into perimenopause, into menopause, and our hormones shift, one of the things that happens is that our body shifts, or it can shift, and for most women it does, where we tend to store our excess fat. And shocker to no one in this room, I'm sure, it shifts it to our midsection. So whereas before, perhaps you stored fat more equally all over your body, or you stored excess fat more in your butt or in your thighs, now in perimenopause and menopause, we tend to store our excess fat right in our midsection. And it can feel really abrupt. Like you look down one day and you're like, where did that come from? And it's not necessarily that you gained a bunch more fat. It's just when you have excess fat now, it tends to be in our midsection. which is not something we're particularly used to for a lot of women. A lot of women who've never been overweight a day in their life now look down and they're like, where did this softness come from? And so number one, it's totally normal. Number two, as women, our bodies are meant to have some body fat there, ladies. So trying to get like washboard abs is not necessarily going to happen. And I know there's a lot of cultural pressure that we should have that. And a piece of that, ladies, is going to be genetics. Like if you're like, I want to get washboard abs, not all of us are going to be able to do that. I got down to an incredibly low body fat percentage. I still only had a 4-pack and I was not going to see a 6-pack until I was incredibly unhealthy. And I was like, well, forget this. I'm not doing it. So know that genetics is going to play a role to how thin you can get there, but you can absolutely lose that excess fat around your middle. And the good news to know, I don't know if it's good news, but it's important news to know is there's no special protocol. There is no menopause belly fat protocol that differs from regular fat loss. We lose that fat the same way we lose fat anywhere else on our body, which is a sustained calorie deficit. That's going to involve your eating, how much you're eating or not eating. That is the number one thing that's going to create your deficit. Yes, movement is also going to help create that deficit. And when I say movement, one of the main things I want you to focus on is actually moving more across your day in the form of just steps. I'm not saying cardio is bad. It's actually incredibly helpful, but it's not the big dial mover a lot of women think it is for losing weight. We've got to get that nutrition piece in line first, then really work on moving more throughout your day. Because if you sit at your desk, like I do for my job all day long, and then you go to the gym, even if you go every day for 30 minutes to an hour, it's still not going to be the amount of movement that you're going to need. And so we want to get you moving more throughout the day. For a lot of people, that can really be much easier to approach anyway than getting to the gym for more cardio sessions. There's a really low barrier to entry to being like, after every meal, I'm going to walk for 5 minutes. That's a really low barrier to entry. And these little things can add up. So a good place to shoot is 7,500 to 12,000 steps per day. You don't have to go way up there right at first. 10K is not a magic number. It was originally invented by a Japanese marketing company way back in the 60s for their little tracking device for their steps. So 10K, not a magic number. It's a good solid number for weight loss. For general overall health, 7,500 calorie steps is a good place to hit. 10,000 to 12,000 steps a day. I really like it for weight loss, ladies. It really does help. But if you're now like at like 2,000 or 3,000, focus on how can I get 500 more steps a day? How can I get 1,000 more steps a day? And over time, ratchet that up until you're easily getting 10 to 12,000 steps a day. You can absolutely become that person. You don't have to be her next week though. Those things, and then adding in that strength training piece. So important to really shift the shape of your body. It's a really important piece of the puzzle too. That's where I'd put your energy, and that belly fat is gonna come off. It might not come off first. For a lot of women, it's coming off last. You're gonna lose face. Right? Yeah, you're gonna lose fat in your face, and your boobs are for sure going, ladies. I'm sorry to tell you, they're out of here. But eventually the belly fat goes.
Yeah. I have a question.
Want to lose it in my face because I think it ages me, right?
I know.
It's hard.
I know.
And again, that's a genetic thing too. Like where you tend to lose weight first and last is the genetic thing we can do nothing about.
Right.
Michelle,
but I had a question, which we were talking about right before we started, which was about, it's January and we're all getting bombarded with all these diets. And Anne was talking about like cutting out sugar and, which diet, which supplement, which thing should we be doing that's going to help us hit that weight goal? And you must hear this from like every single person that reaches out to you. And I'm curious, one, what do you think about this whole sugar argument? That's like the first question. Should you or should you not be eating sugar? And what about diet fads, supplements, all the things? Is there anything really that's a magic bullet out there?
Okay. Remind me about the second one, because I will start talking.
I will.
You even asked the second one. So let's talk about sugar first. So look, is sugar going to cause you to gain weight? Not on its own. Plenty of people have lost weight eating sugar. There was a really famous experiment. I don't remember when it was, but there was this guy, he was a professor, he was a researcher, and it's like nicknamed the Twinkie diet. I don't know if you ladies have ever heard about this, but this man spent a chunk of time and he ate gas station food and he lost some crazy amount of weight. I think it was like 20 or 30 pounds.
What is the gas station food? Oh, gas station.
Gas station food. We're talking Twinkies, ho-hos. They call it the Twinkie diet because he ate those things, very high sugar things. The man lost a crap ton of weight. Okay. And I don't remember when, it was a long time ago. And it was an attempt to prove that it's not the content of the food, it's the energy in the food, the calories in the food. And this is solid science, ladies, and it's super important to know. The bottom line for how you're going to lose weight is to reduce calories. There's lots of ways to do that. Should we do what this man did and eat a whole bunch of Twinkies? It's not healthy at all. It's going to be incredibly hard to stick to. If you have a high sugar diet, you're likely going to be able to, in order to reduce your calories enough to lose weight, you're going to be eating very little food if your diet is highly processed, filled with sugar. If, however, you switch the ratio of the types of food you eat and you eat mostly minimally processed, nutrient dense foods, so fruits, vegetables, lean protein, those kinds of things, leafy greens, and you have mostly that, and you have some sugar, it is not going to prevent you from losing weight. And in fact, for many people, it's going to sustain their ability to do this long term because we like sugar. We like cookies and cake and pudding in these things. We want some of it. And so reducing the amount of sugar, still including it, not banning it, while increasing the amount of lean protein and leafy greens and all these things can really help a person to lose weight. You do not need to cut out sugar. In fact, many people cut out sugar and still don't lose weight because they're eating too many calories. So even though they've cut out all sugar, they're getting more calories from fat. And so now they're still not losing weight. Other people are highly successful with a no sugar diet. When that happens, the reason they lost weight is not the absence of sugar in their diet. It's the absence of the calories that came along with the sugar. What happens when they start eating the sugar again is going to be determined by how their calories are. Did they learn enough when they cut out that sugar to sustain now maintaining their weight? A lot of people know because they didn't understand in the background, it was the calories, not the sugar. So if they ever start eating sugar again and the calories come back in, then they gain the weight back again.
Yeah.
And so if you do want to cut out sugar, look, sugar is not super healthy for us, but I personally do like to eat it. I'm sure I've had some today. What did I have? I had a granola bar that had some sugar in it. I like candy. I like cookies, but the idea of moderating those things, not prioritizing them in our diet is so much more effective for the long-term weight loss and weight maintenance than just cutting out the sugar.
Yeah. Oh, and my other question was about like supplements. Like there's a
Power
lot
fat
right now
diets.
about like
Yeah.
supplements that are going to like help me lose weight, whether it's berberine or probiotics or,
Yeah.
and I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Short answer is no, unless what you're talking about is a weight loss drug. Like the new weight loss drugs, the GLP-1s, they're fantastic. And if a person has obesity, I am all for them. Like, I think this is an amazing discovery that has been made. I think it is going to really transform so many people's lives. That said, if people are like, wow, how can you say that? You're a trainer. Aren't you going to lose business? I don't think I am. Because frankly, these people who are doing it, in order for them to do it in a healthy way, they need to keep their muscle mass. You can lose a lot of muscle when they're losing weight at that rate. And so they really need to strength train and eat enough protein. And people need a lot of help to do those things. So if a person has obesity, like talking to their medical provider about these medications, great. I think it's an amazing advance in science. Short of that, there's nothing else that's going to be like the magic bullet to help a person lose weight. Now, a supplement that I do recommend, and I don't even know, like I call it, it is called a supplement, but we're talking protein powder. It can really help a person. It's not necessary. What is necessary is eating enough protein so that when you're in a calorie deficit, you don't lose your muscle mass. And also it keeps you full. Protein is one of the most satiating macronutrient. It's more satiating than carbs. It's more satiating than fats. So having a protein shake a day can really help. So that's a type of supplement that can be useful. It's not going to like ensure that a person lose weight, but that can be useful. Otherwise, no, there's nothing you can take that's going to make you lose weight. There's just, it's friggin' annoying, ladies, and I'm sorry, but it
I'm
doesn't.
asking this question because I know how you're going to answer it, but when you say women need more protein in their diet, like what's the number? Because it's a lot higher than a lot of women.
Yeah,
think.
it is. And, you know, one of the things that really trips people up is the RDA. So the RDA is very little. It's like 50 grams of protein per day. And that is enough to stave off disease. But that's not the goal here, right? We're not just talking about staving off disease. We're talking about optimizing our body during a fat loss phase. And during a fat loss phase, your body is literally breaking down tissue. We do not want it to break down your muscle. You need your muscle. And ladies, as we age and as we're in menopause, we're losing muscle faster than ever. So we really don't want to be losing that muscle. We need the muscle to look good, to feel good, to age better. You know, we need the muscle. And so we're not talking the RDA, which really trips people up. You need a lot more than that. So the number that I'm going to give you is 0.72 times your lean body mass. Now, ladies, if you're like, how do I figure that out? Go by your goal body weight. Like if you were at a pretty lean weight, use that, multiply 0.72 times that number, and that should be your baseline of protein. If that feels like a lot for you, if you're like, wait a minute, that's like 135 grams of protein, I'm nowhere near that. The first goal I will give you is get to 100 grams of protein per day. Shoot for 100 grams of protein per day. For a lot of women, that's still a big project. I coach a lot of people through like, how do I do that?
Hard.
So one of the things I would suggest you do is make a cheat sheet of every protein source you like. Literally go online and Google high protein foods. When the list comes up, if the list has things like nuts, peanut butter, ignore them. Those are not high protein foods because the calorie to protein ratio is way off. So I want you to stick with sources on there that are animal based, come from an animal, or if they're a vegan protein source, that's totally fine too. Like things like soy, tempeh, tofu. If they're fish, excellent. Things that are high in fat, like nuts, nut butters, those are not great sources of protein. They're still delicious and you can eat them, but the calorie to protein ratio is way off. So write down every protein source you like. Look at your personal cheat sheet of like, all right, here's the 20 protein sources I like, and then pick a couple to have every day. Have protein at every meal, base your meal around it. So if you're shooting for 100 grams of protein in a day and you're going to have 3 meals and a snack, you need 25 grams of protein in every meal. Now you just plug those in across your day. You've written your personal ones, you eat the ones you like, and you practice doing that. It gets way easy over time. And then also throw in a protein shake. It really helps. Like that can get you 25 to 30 grams of protein right off the top right there.
Yeah, it's harder than it seems because you're used to eating, like we're used to eating a little lighter and you get a salad with a little bit of chicken. It's like you want the chicken with a little bit of the salad.
Yeah,
Like
it's
you wind up
true.
eating a lot of protein,
Yeah, when you think about your meals, oftentimes the protein is like this little added thing. So like it's spaghetti and meatballs. It should really be meatballs and spaghetti. Ladies, like have the spaghetti. There's nothing wrong with the pasta. Just like double or triple up on the meatballs. When you're going out for food, if you want to get a salad, great. Double the chicken. Like see how much chicken is there. Get more. You're going to want to have more protein.
So I have a couple questions from our community that they wanted to ask you. One was things that this person can do after an injury. She broke her leg and has weakness in it. She's doing physical therapy, but can she do anything at home to help strengthen the leg and also the all over body? She has band weights, she has things to use. What can she do?
Okay, great. So this is a really important question because so many of the women I work with are having some type of injury, especially, at our age, somebody's like, oh, now I hurt my shoulder. It's my hip, it's my foot, my plantar fasciitis, all of these things, right? And so learning how to train around these things is super important. The first piece of information or advice I want to give you is always talk to your PT. If you're doing something with a PT, ask them what you're cleared to do. Right. And so if it's your leg, before you work that leg in any other way, you want to ask, like, what can I do? And then go based on that. One thing for sure you can do is continue to work your whole upper body. So you can do, if your PT comes back and is like, don't do anything with that leg, you could do the rest of your upper body exercises seated. So you can sit on a bench and do overhead presses for your shoulders. You can lay on the bench and do chest presses for your chest. You can do tricep extensions and biceps. So it can really kind of get in our head that when we're injured, we can do nothing. When really, if it's our foot or our leg or our shoulder or arm, we have the rest of our body to work. So really, and I know it can feel a little demotivating, but push back on that thought on your brain and say, like, it's really worth it for me to do all of these other things. The other thing that's a really cool thing about our bodies is research has shown that training one side of your body while injured on the other side actually positively impacts the injured side that you're not even training. So if you can only train, if like she injured her left leg, there will be some crossover effect if she just trains her right leg. So if your PT does not want you doing anything on your injured leg, you could still sit at your bench and use your band and do banded leg extensions and lay on your bench and do banded leg curls with your leg that's not bothering you. You could lay on your back on the floor and do a single leg glute bridge with your good leg. The one that's not injured, even if you can't do anything with that other leg. And then if your PT says, yeah, you can do some things with your leg, just do it so you don't feel pain. Great. You can do all of the lower body exercises in a way until you don't feel pain. It's really important. We never train through pain. We learn to train around pain. But yeah, you got the rest of your body besides that leg. Train it all, train it hard.
That's great. Next question. I'm overweight with pain in my knees and a small hernia in my stomach. What type of exercises do you recommend?
What was
I
the
have a
first
hernia
you
in
said?
my stomach. I'll
You
say
do?
that. What kind
What
of
was the other one you
exercise do
said
you?
beside the hernia? What was
Let
the
me say
first?
this again. She's overweight,
Got it.
and
A
has
knee.
pain in her knees.
Got it.
Hmm.
And she
So,
also has a small hernia in the stomach.
okay.
What type of
Again, I want to
exercise?
clear with your doctor, as long as your doctor's okay with you strength training. A lot of people strength train and have a hernia. But you want to get that cleared with your doctor. As far as your knees, all upper body is going to be in play. If knee pain is made worse by your training, focus on exercises that are more for the backside of your body. So doing things like deadlift variations, hinge variations, glute variations. So things like Romanian deadlifts, hip thrusts, glute bridges, leg curls, those things that more work the posterior part of your body. If your knees get worse with time, with exercise, I would get in to see a PT. We don't want you to never train using your knees. Ladies, it's so interesting to me. I get women coming to me all the time and they just accept the fact that they have knee pain or shoulder pain. Thus, just because we have it does not mean it's okay that we do. You can get out of pain. The overweight piece is probably a part of it. And so helping you to lose weight through your diet can be a really big piece of that. What can you still do to exercise that doesn't hurt your knees? Can you get on an exercise bike? How does that feel on your knees? Let's look for what is pain-free for you. Then if you're like, okay, the doctor has said there's nothing structurally about my knees that is wrong and I'm free to exercise, what variations can we do that aren't going to hurt your knees? Can we get you doing some kind of a squat that's not going to hurt your knees? If you sit down in a chair every day and stand back up, you're doing a squat. Like that is a sit to your chair and back up. That is a squat. It's going to likely help you as long as I said the doctor has cleared you, there's nothing structurally wrong, the more you do these types of things. So can we just have you start doing body weight squats? Can we have you like raise it up higher? If it does hurt you to come all the way to a chair, can we have you stack up a couple of pillows and just tap your butt down to whatever is your pain-free range of motion? You're also probably going to want to work with a trainer to see how your form is looking. One of the things about training and knee pain is if we're not doing it correctly, we can be exacerbating our knee pain. You'll used to hear like, and actually even still times you'll hear like aerobics instructors be like, don't let your knees go over your toes. And that's actually nonsense, ladies. Our knees go over our toes all the time. Next time you're going up and down steps, watch your knees and your toes. Your knees go over your toes. It's fine. What you want to pay attention to when you're doing things like lunges and squats is that your heel stays planted on the floor. If you're doing a squat and your knees are coming over your toes and your heels are up, that can put some strain on the front of your knees. As long as your heels are planted on the floor, your knees can and will and should go over your toes. So get with a coach and have them check your form too.
Yeah, I'll add one quick thing, and another reason why I loved working with Kim, like I said at the beginning, is she's really careful about kind of easing you into the program, and just Kim being a woman and somebody that I respect, and she's so easy to talk to. So I can say like, I'm scared to do this, or it's going to hurt, or you can say all the things that you're like nervous about. So I would urge you, if it's not Kim, work with somebody that you feel you can just be completely honest about the things you're nervous about, and they're
Yeah.
also easing you in. You shouldn't be going from 0 to 100 on day one. You shouldn't be leaving the gym like shaking in pain. You have to ease in. The other thing I do as I kind of take on some new exercises, or I'm not so sure about something, a lot of gyms will like give you a free training session, or you just have to pay for one. I find trainers are so expensive and nothing that I can do like long term in a gym kind of setting, but I will do it maybe twice a year. I'll do one session just to make sure all my form is right, that there's somebody there. Maybe there's a new piece of machinery I don't know how to use, and I feel like, can you just show me how to do this? Or I want to add more weight, but I'm a little nervous about my form. Can you take a look at it? That has worked really well for me. So don't feel pressure that if you ask for like one training session, you have to stay on for week after week after week. You can say,
Yeah,
I just want one. That's it. And
absolutely.
if you could afford that, at least it's a little easier. Like I said, I can't even afford those weekly trainers, but it's really, really helped me. But again, easing in is also critical to see what your body could do. Like, how far can you push it? Because you might have like knee pain or whatever, that you're not used to using certain muscles, and it'll take a while to build up.
Yeah. And one of the mistakes that a lot of people make is that when they're ready to start exercising, they do go hard. It's like that go big or go home kind of mentality. And then right out of the gate, they get so sore. Then they're like, I can't exercise for a week. And then they're scared to go back. And then when they eventually go back, they do the same thing. And so they're
Yeah.
just as sore again. ladies, it's one of the things about our bodies. When we introduce a new stimulus to it, we get more sore. And so the sorest you're going to be is the first time you're either returning to work out or the first time you've ever worked out. And so we don't want you to go crazy hard. Going into the gym the first time and doing a single set of 5, 6, 7 exercises with light weight, great. And then you can come back in 2 or 3 days and you're still going to be sore, but you're not going to be like so sore you can't like get up from your desk or sit onto the toilet. We're not ever looking for that. You don't want to go to a coach whose main, and don't stop telling people this, ladies. People are like, just make me sore, just make me tired. That's not actually getting you what you think it is. And if you're with a coach and their goal is to make you sore and tired, they don't know what they're doing, right? Like getting sore, getting tired is not the goal. And I've been to coaches like that. I used to go to a boot camp back before I knew what I was doing. I literally had to leave and I went into the bathroom and like almost threw up. Like I had to go home. And I was like, wow, that was a great workout. And because I didn't know what I was doing at the time. And like, but I never went back because I was like, that was terribly painful. Like I'm clearly not good enough for that. That was a terrible workout.
I have bladder issues. I wouldn't last 10 minutes in that class. So here's my question. I have a question. I asked it before we jumped on and we said, let's save it. I have no idea how to count calories. We talk a lot about watching your calorie intake. I don't know what's in what. I don't know how much I'm eating. I wouldn't even know where to begin about it. So people say, oh, don't eat that many calories or do this or that.
Yeah. Okay. It's a really great question. So a couple of things you can do. The first thing I would suggest that everybody do before they even actually get into the nitty gritty of the numbers in their food is to just spend a few days tracking with like pen and paper or just your notes app and just write down everything you eat. That can be incredibly eye-opening. It's going to help you notice patterns. It's going to help you notice like things Michelle did. She's like, every night I have a drink and then I eat a whole bunch of cookies. Like it's going to bring up these patterns. You might not realize that you actually dip your hand into the jar of nuts in your closet 7 times a day. And then all of a sudden you're like, it's a lot of nuts and you didn't know you were doing it. So just that simple step of tracking, like what did I eat? And then looking at it, that's one great first step. Then the next step, when we're actually like, okay, now I'm going to actually track calories, is to get an app. We have it so easy these days, ladies, that we're not having to like use a spreadsheet or something. Use an app. MyFitnessPal, totally fine. Lose It is the one I use. I really like it. Lose It and MyFitnessPal are 2 really good ones. I will tell you, when you go to use that, they're going to set your calories for you. It's going to be based on whatever you put in. It's likely not going to be correct. One, because you're not going to really know what you're going to tell them. Like you're going to tell them things that are going to be off. If you want my help with getting your correct calories, you can go to my website, Kim Schlag Fitness. I have a free 5-day fat loss crash course. It does not help you lose weight in 5 days. I want to be really clear about that. Over 5 days, I will send you 5 emails to teach you things, okay? And one of those things is I'll help you set your calories. You'll be able to figure out, and then you can plug that into the app. Go with what they tell you at first, but no, it's likely going to be too low. So then when you go into the app, you can at first, before you even try and hit a certain calorie target, just start exploring with how many calories are in the foods I'm eating. The easiest first step is to take anything that has a barcode you eat. So like you eat something out of your freezer and it has a barcode, scan it. You eat something, scan it, and you're going to start seeing it. Then start experimenting with actually having to put things in. And a good way to do this, ladies, without it being super complicated, is to try eating super simply for a little bit to do this. So we're talking single ingredient items. Like I had a piece of salmon and some broccoli and an apple. That's easy stuff to track. It gets harder if you're like, I had jambalaya. Well, what was in your jambalaya, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that gets trickier. So when you're first learning to track, really trying to eat single ingredient items, like I had a yogurt or I had toast or I had an avocado, look for those single ingredient items to practice. Now, that's going to get you really far with just that. When you really are trying to make progress, weighing the thing you're actually eating so that you can input into the app exactly how much of it you ate is going to be the next step. Things you never need to weigh. Leafy greens. It's absurd. You could eat 2 bags of spinach. It doesn't matter. You don't need to weigh it. You don't weigh your leafy greens. Everything else, I would say weigh it. If weight loss is your goal and you're struggling to make that progress, weigh everything else. Weigh your chicken, weigh your fish, weigh your fat sources, especially fat sources. There's a lot of calories in olive oil. Weigh your olive oil. So weigh things. I think grams is the most straightforward way to do it. Put your scale on there for grams and weigh it. And then you'll know I had X number of grams of whatever. And ounces is fine too. I had 4 ounces of whitefish, whatever it is. And then you input it. And then you're going to start to see what's happening with that. Then, like I said, you can use a calorie calculator. There's plenty online. You can get my free one in my course. And then you can actually input that. And then you start trying to reach that target. So kind of ease into it with those steps.
Yeah, and I will say, add my little 2 cents that, again, what Kim said about like, just track what you eat in a day. And you'll be surprised. You're like, oh my God, like I cook some chicken and I threw some olive oil in the pan. Well, I actually put 3 tablespoons of olive oil in the pan, and that's like I'm making this up, 200
A
calories.
lot of
I
calories.
can only have 1,500 calories. And then you're like, oh wait, is that how I want to spend my calories? Like on those 3, can I cut it back to 1? Could I, whatever it is, or I'm having a yogurt. Oh, this yogurt's 100 calories. This yogurt is 400 calories. Maybe like you just really, it doesn't take long to start to figure out, I can now kind of eyeball things and figure out what fits into my calories if I'm counting calories at any given time. But also you'll be shocked at what you're consuming that you don't realize is really ruining, your efforts.
Yeah.
And
I'm getting ready.
wrong
I'm going to start a
thinking.
series on my Instagram that I'm going to like do like a little quiz. I'm going to show you guys something on my Instagram in the coming days and weeks. And I'll be like, I'm going to show you like a certain amount of peanut butter and be like, hey, guess how many calories in here? And then you can swipe and see, because it's really eye opening. People are always stunned when they realize how many calories are in certain foods. And they're like, I had literally no idea.
And
I
being
will get
honest
it
with
wrong
yourself.
every single one. I
Yeah.
will get
Yeah.
every single one.
You're like, oh, I just had a tablespoon of peanut butter. And meanwhile, it's like 3 tablespoons of peanut butter.
Yes,
You're like,
that's,
oh,
and
wait,
that's where
you
weighing
have to be
can
honest
really
with
help.
yourself.
Eyeballing things like peanut butter and olive oil, it's so often like we are way under guessing.
Right. Well, and here's I'm thinking, oh, I'm just cutting out carbs. I'm cutting out carbs. So I'm going to cook my steak. I cook it in a ton of olive oil.
Yeah.
Well,
They,
I'm wrong.
yeah. Well, it's not necessarily about being wrong, but it's about being clear on what you've done, right? And
Yeah,
so
clearly
I like olive
wrong.
oil, and olive oil is super healthy, but we want to be clear when we're looking at our total overall calorie intake. If we're trying to lose weight, we got to see where are those calories being. And there are some sneaky ways, and olive oil is one of them that really pump up the calories that we just are just like blind to. It's like, I didn't eat anything extra. Well, we just had a couple hundred calories in olive oil.
Right. Okay. So the olive oil and butter that I'm cooking it in. No. Okay.
Yeah.
I
See,
The
butter's
olive oil,
another thing.
butter, and the steak. Yeah.
but it just,
But
but I'm
you
eating a
can
steak.
eat, you can have olive oil and you can have the steak, but probably it's probably a third of the portion size than you're thinking in your head.
Yeah.
Oh,
If you're
yeah,
like me,
for
which
sure.
my portion size in my head, I want like a bowl of pasta this big, but it's
Yeah.
actually like this big.
Right. I'm cutting out the mashed potatoes, but I'm slathering it in butter and
Yeah.
olive oil with my steak.
There you go.
Last topic, and that's sleep and weight loss, and how important sleep is to weight loss, and how it affects it.
Yeah. So a really important topic, and it's important to know there's not a direct connection. Like, I am not sleeping, therefore I can't lose weight. Sometimes it's just like what you see in the media makes you feel like that. And that can be really discouraging for women in perimenopause who are sleeping terribly. We're like, well, then, I guess I have no chance because my sleep is horrible. The connection is not direct like that. When we're low on sleep, a couple of things happen. One thing, our hunger and satiety hormones can get kind of messed up. And so we have higher cravings, we have lower satiety, we have increased hunger. What does all that affect? How many calories we're eating, or it can affect. We can counteract that by a knowledge of like, all right, when I'm low on sleep, I tend to be hungrier. What can I do to navigate my hunger? I can eat more protein. I can have a bigger salad. Like, I can actually actively work on portioning my food in such a way that I get more volume and more protein to keep me full while still keeping my calories in check, right? So you see, like, there is a connection. Like, I'm hungrier, but I still have control over something there. Same thing with cravings. Maybe like when you're low, lacking sleep, often you're craving things more. Well, you can set up your environment so that the things you particularly struggle with craving aren't there. You can increase your fat a little bit that day and see like, okay, does that help with the cravings? We can work with things to help with that. So that's one way it impacts us, is with our hormones. Another thing that happens is when we're low on sleep, often the things that we need to do, like go for our walk, go to the gym, prep our meals, we just don't want to do them because we're tired. And so we don't want to do those things. But do we still have control over doing those things? Yes, we do. We can. And it's a really important thing to practice, is believing that you can do the things that are hard. So like, yes, I can still go out for a walk when I'm tired. Yes, I can still go to the gym when I'm tired. Yes, I can still pack my lunch instead of stopping at McDonald's or whatever it is. So really working through that and then seeing how can you make your life easier. When you're in a time like you know it's going to be low sleep, maybe you're traveling or maybe it's a busy season at work. What can you do to reduce as many barriers, reduce as much friction as you can between you and the gym, you and the healthy food? So we work on those things. And then the final piece that really impacts a lot of people, when we're low on sleep, our body actually can downregulate how much we're naturally moving throughout the day. And so we're not moving as much. You can absolutely have control of this by wearing your step tracker and keeping an eye on that and being like, yeah, I've been really sluggish today. I'm now going to choose to get up and move. So really still working to optimize your sleep as much as possible. I'm not saying, hey, ladies, just push through it. Sometimes what you need is more rest because it has been a really tough bunch of days. So maybe the right choice sometimes is to stay home from the gym and take a rest. For if this is going to be a long-term situation for a lot of women, it is. A lot of women I work with are struggling with long-term insomnia. It's, you know, it's not getting better yet. And so we look to see what can we do with their lifestyle to try and improve their sleep quality, to try and improve their sleep quantity. There are things you can do. So what can we do with your nighttime routine? What can we do when you do wake up? What are the things you do? Because there's a lot. And I know you guys have interviewed Shelby Harris, Dr. Harris. I love her. She's actually a client of mine too. She was a client of mine last year. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, so you can work with a specialist like that. You can follow her content and see like, okay, when I wake up at night, what can I do to actually get myself back to sleep? Because it's probably not what you think it is. And so work on getting better sleep, work on getting more sleep, but also know that you can still have control over all of the factors that are going to get in the way of you losing weight.
Yeah. And I would just say, if you I know it's so hard, but if you are somebody that is very sedentary and really doesn't exercise at all, and you might be surprised how tired you are if you kind of can get to 3,000 steps or get to 5,000 steps.
Mhm.
And so if you can actually push yourself to just do the little bit of exercise, you'll be more tired at night. And if you're more tired, you'll get better sleep.
Yeah,
So it's kind of all like, unfortunately, it's all interconnected also.
it
Like,
is. And
we
so,
work out, like I find if days I don't go to the gym, I don't sleep as well that night. If I'm not as tired, my body's not as tired.
yeah, that can absolutely have an impact. And also, you know, along the same vein, one of the things that can really help when you are struggling with like lack of sleep and getting to the gym, lack of sleep and getting enough steps is top loading your day with that stuff. So like starting out the day with the workout, if you know you're going to be extra dragging at night, let's get it out of the way. And this is coming from somebody who has historically not been a morning person, ladies. I'm not like jumping out of bed, like, let's go, let's work out. That is not my chosen time to work out. But if I was low on sleep and I knew like it's going to be now or never, I'd be up and first thing getting the gym. Really top load your day with that workout.
Yeah. And the other last thing, I know we're running out of time. Even if you don't have motivation for the weight loss, or even if it's so hard on so many levels, the second piece of this, which we aren't even discussing, is just like the mental health aspect of it. And for me, so much of why I continue to work out and continue to weight train, even though I'm not losing the weight I want to lose, like whatever that is, my own problems, it just makes me feel better. Like it makes me feel clearer, more focused, happier. I can go to the gym so stressed out about work, and I leave the gym with like a million good ideas and like
Yeah.
feeling with a smile on my face. And it totally changes my day. And so if you can even think about the exercise not for weight loss, or not even for like long, like I got to build muscle, but I just want to feel better. I just want
Yeah.
to clear the cobwebs a little bit. And you kind of are like, I'm not doing this because I'm going to like all of a sudden I want to fit into a bathing suit, but I want to do it because I need some brain space.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a motivation,
It is.
and, for
Absolutely.
a lot of people, I think it's why they continue to go to the gym every day, or
Yeah.
like once a week.
And even from the perspective of just feeling super good about yourself in terms of your capabilities, I know I was shocked when I started lifting weights for the first time. I had never actually even realized that I had always thought of myself as kind of a weak person. I was like, I've always
Yeah.
kind of self-identified as a weak person. Well, that was not any longer possible because I was going to the gym and lifting ridiculously heavy weight. And every week I was lifting more. And I'm like, dang, if I can do this in the gym, like what else can I do? Which is
Yeah.
how I ended up all of a sudden having a career because like I was like, what else can I try here? And so it can really just build like your belief in yourself that you can do really challenging things, which is
Yeah.
important.
Right. And it's
Great.
the one thing you can control, right? Like I can't control what is happening to my body right now. I am having horrible hot flashes and horrible night sweats. am I losing weight with all the sweating that I'm doing? I mean, I really think I'm probably losing
But
5
you
pounds a
menopause is
night.
Only it
helping
works
you.
that way.
Why am I not losing weight? Because I am sweating like ridiculously. But this is the thing I can control, right? I can't control a lot of these things that are happening to me and my body, but boy, I can control how I feel and what I'm eating and what I'm doing. And like
Yeah.
Michelle said, those little milestones make me feel so good about
Mhm.
myself that yeah, I chose today to get up and do the 10,000 steps instead of sleeping in 2 more hours. I chose on a Saturday to take that, maybe try and run a little bit instead of sleeping on the sofa, right? I feel better at the end of the day having made those choices for myself when I'm in the throes of the hot flashes and the night sweats, and they apparently not making me lose weight, which I had hoped you thought I would. But um, we cannot thank you enough for
Yes,
all
thank
that you
you.
have done for us at Womeness and me here at the after party and for our community. We love talking to you. Like
Oh, thanks,
I
ladies.
interviewed you a year ago and I said to you when you first jumped on, I said, I feel like I see you every day. Because I do follow you. I follow you on Instagram. You are
Yeah.
so inspirational. It's Kim Schlag Fitness is
Mhm.
your Instagram handle. And you also have a wonderful podcast, which is Fitness Simplified. And so
Yes.
I invite everybody to follow Kim. It is worth it. You will
Mhm.
smile. You will feel inspired. I will put all of the information down below after the interview. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me, ladies. I always enjoy chatting with you. I love your company. I love your products. I love you guys. You're fantastic.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a
ladies.
good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.